What's up, y'all? It's Carmen Chloe of SingleMarriedWidow.com, a safe space for widows to grieve, heal, and live after loss. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to start the grief process for widows. In the beginning, I did not have a chance to focus on grief because my children and I went through major transitions, literally, that started the day after my husband passed away. So I was in survival mode for the first few months after my husband's passing. Someone had to literally tell me, you need to grieve so that your unprocessed grief does not turn into bitterness. So about 3 months after my husband passed away, when my children and I were able to get to a settled state to where I didn't have to worry about just basic things that people don't worry about on a daily basis, I was able to grieve. I was in a space of, I didn't have to plan a funeral. I didn't have to think about where we were going to live at. I didn't have to think about whether or not I was going to get a job, as opposed to taking the time that I knew I needed to heal and to grieve. So I was in a space of freedom to where all I had was time and space and my thoughts, and I had no other choice but to grieve. It was one of the most uncomfortable seasons of my life, but it was one of the most necessary seasons of my life. So this video is specifically for my widowed sisters who may have not started the grief process yet. You may be 6 months, a year down the line, and you may not have truly given yourself permission to grieve. You may not have truly embraced your emotions that will allow you to grieve, and you may just feel like, there's no space or no time to grieve because you have small children. You are the primary breadwinner now, and you're trying to survive and figure out life. So I want to, first of all, give you permission to grieve. I also want to let you know that grief is a lifelong journey. It's not a final destination. It's a journey. And then I want to give you some tips on how to start the grief process. I want to give you 5 tips on how to start the grief process. Tip number 1 is to take it moment by moment. There is no blueprint for grief. Taking it one day at a time is simply too much. You'll have people that'll say, oh, you just take it one day at a time. Taking it one day at a time is simply too much, especially when you are grieving the loss of a spouse. Your emotions can change within the same 60 seconds, okay? Also, focus on simply remembering to breathe. You can be so tense and so stressed and so focused on your children and survival mode and what am I going to do and how am I going to do this? How am I going to fill this void? How am I going to get the things done that he used to take care of? You can be so focused on just different things that you literally will forget to breathe. It's almost like you're holding your breath because it's so much and you don't want to breathe and you don't want to let it out because it's gonna cause you to feel all the emotions that you need to feel. Step number 2 is to embrace every emotion. Okay, you're going to be on an emotional roller coaster of sorts that you can't control. Your emotions may change. 1 minute you may feel sadness. 1 minute you may feel happiness and joy thinking about a good memory. The next moment you may feel anger towards your late husband. Okay? Don't be ashamed of any of the emotions that you feel on this journey. They are unique to you. They are unique to your relationship. They are unique to your process, okay? And just as your marriage was unique, just as the relationship that you had with your spouse, just as the season that you were in with your spouse when they passed away was unique and not the same exact as anybody else's, that's how your emotions are going to be unique. So embrace them all and don't be ashamed of any of them. Number 3 is to protect your space. Protect your mental space, protect your emotional space, protect your spiritual space, and protect your physical space, okay? Create a safe space where you can feel how you want to feel. You can feel angry, you can feel sad, you can feel mad, okay? Create a safe space where you're allowed to feel every single emotion. Create a safe space where you can say what you need to say without censoring yourself, without holding back, without feeling like, oh my God, I can't say this because then this person is going to think that I, feel this way, or I meant it like this. Create a safe space where you can say what you need to say without judgment, because this is a journey that most people will not travel. This is a journey that most people don't have the answers or the blueprint to, okay? Create a safe space to do what you want and what you need to do, with the exception of not hurting yourself or others. But if you need to scream, if you need to punch into a pillow, like, create that space, okay? Create that space to where you are free to do what it is that you need to do along this journey to start the grief process. Tip number 4 is to create a solid support circle. Your support circle is going to be so pivotal and just so critical during the initial phases of you losing your husband, all the way into you, grieving, healing, and considering and thinking about like living life again, okay? Grief can often bring out wolves in sheep's clothing. I have seen it with my own eyes. Like, you're in a vulnerable state, and there may be people that look at that as an opportunity to take advantage of you. They may look at that as an opportunity for them to ask you for access and for information that they would never ask you for when you were in your normal and your typical state, okay? Only allow people around you that you trust 100%, people that you would trust handling your financial information, people that you would trust sharing with them some things that you and your spouse may have been going through prior to them passing away, people that you would trust to just do what's in the best interest for your children, okay? Only allow people in your space that can cover you spiritually, and that can pray for you effectively and pray for you to the same God, the same deity that you pray to, okay? Only allow people that can cover you in the aspect of they can spot the wolves in sheep's clothing, and they have no issue and no problem telling them to get back and to sit down somewhere, okay? I am thankful. Although there were some wolves in sheep's clothing around during the initial process, I still had my protection, my covering in the form of close family members that, had my best interest in mind, had my children's best interest in mind, and had no issue telling other people, hey, you need to go sit down somewhere. You're not going to take advantage of her. You're not going to take advantage of them. You need to go sit down somewhere, unless you need some people like that around you in the beginning, because you're not in your right mental space. You're vulnerable, you're sad, you're grieving, and people, sadly, they will take advantage of that. Don't hesitate to limit people's access into your circle when you're grieving. Don't hesitate to deny access to certain people. Certain people, they may have had access before, but their access had to get revoked because they showed their true heart posture, and it wasn't pure. It wasn't pure, okay? It didn't have your best interests at heart. So don't feel ashamed or hesitant to do that, because at this point, it's about you healing, you getting into just the healthiest state that you can be in all areas. And also, if you have children, making sure that you are your best self so that you can take care of the children now, okay? And then the last tip, number 5, get the help that you need, okay? Don't be ashamed to go to therapy. Don't be ashamed to go to counseling. Don't be ashamed to get grief counseling. Don't be ashamed to go to Grief Share. But then also be aware of other forms of help that you may need. Once you try out Grief Share, you may figure it's not necessarily for you. Once you try out therapy or counseling, you may figure, okay, I can do this part on my own. I can do the grieving and the healing on my own, but I want to learn how to live again. I want to learn how to have joy again. I want to learn how to pick up some of those things that I did prior to even becoming a wife or a mother. I want to rediscover who I am. So if you need to get some inner healing and deliverance, that's something that we do in the Christian community. Some of us who believe in the whole Bible, inner healing and deliverance, you may need to do some of that. you may need to do you may want to do some coaching, some life coaching. Okay. I'm a certified life coach. I'm an advocate for life coaching. I'm an advocate for helping widows to not just grieve and to heal, but to live again, to find joy in life again, because we're here. So those are my 5 tips for how you can actually start the grief process. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.